One is from the war, World War II. There were rationing coupons. If you wanted to get, what does it say, meat, fat, fish, or cheese, or milk, or sugar, or anything else, you needed not just money, but you needed a rationing coupon as well. A non-price rationing mechanism. Another non-price rationing mechanism is queuing, lining up in a line, queuing. Oftentimes we'll have really great speakers who come to campus, and they will give away 2,000 tickets for free to students. Quantity demanded is often much greater than 2,000 at a price of zero. So how do they decide who's going to get those 2,000 tickets? People get in line at Zellerbach. Back in the day when Bill Clinton came to Berkeley and they were giving away 2,000 tickets, people went down there with their sleeping bags and their pillows a good 24 hours before the ticket giveaway started. Queuing is a way of a non-price rationing mechanism. Favored customers. You know you're running a store and you know you're not going to be able to satisfy all of your demand, but you say, for you, I will hold one in the back because you and I have a special relationship. So if you're a favorite customer, right, the store owner really likes you, they're going to stick one of those iPhone 6s in the back to make sure there's one still available when you get there because they know you can't get there until well after work. Favorite customer is another example. There are other examples of non-price rationing mechanisms. When do we need these non-price rationing mechanisms? When we have price ceilings and price floors. That's one example. So let's do a little reading check, see how you did without a B-course quiz on the reading. What's the difference between a binding price ceiling and a binding price floor? A, B, C, D, or E? A, no difference. B, both describe the price. C, price ceiling is below the price and the price floor is above, or the other way around. Or E, I don't know. 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. What? All right. So let's walk through it so we can get that number a little higher than 60%. First, let's look at a price ceiling. Actually, first, let's just look at a ceiling. Up there. See that ceiling? Is there a whole lot of... Oh, good. What's this? Oh, God, you guys are so good. It's just amazing. It's a balloon. Now, if we were outside, and I let go of this balloon... Oops. And I didn't have that weight on the bottom of it. If we were outside and I let go of this balloon, how high would it go? If we were outside, how high would it go? Really, really high. When I was like 4, I got a helium balloon at the San Francisco Zoo, one of those ones with Mickey Mouse inside. And we came home, there's a picture of me because we were on the front porch, and I let go of the balloon, and it went up, and up, and up, and up. And I cried, and I cried, and I cried. My mom sat on the porch with me, and we got the binoculars, and we watched the balloon go, and go, and go. Well, but this balloon isn't going all the way into the sky. Why not? Why didn't this balloon just keep floating up? Because there's a ceiling. Because the ceiling stops it from going as high as it would go naturally. A ceiling stops something from floating up above the ceiling. A price ceiling stops the price from floating up above the ceiling. The price ceiling is above. Nope, the price ceiling is below, because that thing would be going. It stops because there's a weight at the bottom. So let me show you a picture before I get my words all mixed up. All right, price on the vertical, quantity on the horizontal, downward sloping demand, upward sloping supply. Find the equilibrium, P star and Q star. The price would float up to P star if there was no intervention in the market. The balloon would float up into the never, never reaches invisible only with binoculars and even not them. And then pop, but we won't go there. Question. We're still, I don't know. Mariko, they're having trouble hearing me. Thank you for letting me know. We'll see. We'll hope so. I'll try to bellow a little more and mutter a little less. All right, so we've got equilibrium. You've drawn it up. If there's no intervention in the market, the price rises up to P star. If there's a binding price ceiling, that means that the price is going to be prevented from floating up as high as it would float. That price ceiling, call it PC for a price ceiling, is below the equilibrium price. We got yet another microphone? It's a 5-microphone day. It's okay. All right. Oh, this should be better. This kind is always better. They call it the Madonna mic. I think that's just because the faculty, it's like, oh, I get to be Madonna. No, not going there. Okay, anyway. So price ceiling. The price ceiling prevents the price from rising as high as it would without the ceiling. From your price ceiling PC, go over until you hit the supply curve, dash that down, call it QS. Go over from price ceiling until you hit demand, dash that down, call it QD. When there is a price ceiling, is there a market shortage or a market surplus? Shortage. When there's a price ceiling, there's a market shortage. More people want to buy the product at that price PC than is available for sale. We need some non-price rationing mechanism to figure out who of those many people who want the product is going to be able to buy it. Because the quantity that's going to be sold is going to be that smaller quantity of QS. That's the total that's produced, that's the total that's going to be sold. And so there has to be some non-price rationing mechanism that figures out for whom this product is produced. It's a louder mic, but when I move it rattles, so I just won't move. Price floor. If I were to drop something, I don't have anything in my hands that I care to drop, but imagine I have an anvil in my hand, like in the Music Man, the anvil salesman, and I'm going to drop that anvil. If there wasn't a floor here, it would keep going down, right? But if I dropped it, the floor prevents it from going lower. The floor prevents that anvil from falling even lower. A price floor prevents the price from falling as low as it naturally wants to fall. Price on the vertical, quantity on the horizontal, downward sloping demand, upward sloping supply. Find your equilibrium price, P star, equilibrium quantity, Q star, and then choose some price above your equilibrium. Call it PF for the price floor. At that price, go over from PF until it hits the demand curve, drop that down, call it QD. Go over again from PF until you hit the supply curve, drop that down, call it QS. The amount produced is much greater than the amount demanded at that price PF. We say that there is a market surplus. And this time we need a non-price rationing mechanism to figure out which sellers are the ones that get to sell. Now we have to figure out which of the sellers, the people who are producing this product, which are the ones that get to sell. Because the total amount that's going to be sold is going to be the minimum, it's going to be the QD. The minimum of those quantities, that's how much will be sold in the market. We need, again, a non-price rationing mechanism. This case, not to figure out for whom it's produced, that comes off the demand curve, but to figure out by whom it's produced. So who are the producers? Price ceilings and price floors. Price ceilings and price floors are examples of times when we get away from equilibrium, away from letting the price mechanism figure out what is happening in the market. Economists don't like price ceilings and price floors. Economists, as a rule, like having markets that determine how much is going to be produced without any intervention in the form of these price ceilings or price floors. And they like that because of a concept called consumer surplus and a companion concept called producer surplus. Consumer surplus. Who in the room was willing to pay more than $199 for a new iPhone 6? Find me somebody who here was willing to pay more than $199. There's somebody. I don't have a mic. Let's pretend I have a mic. Who was it? Where were we? You were. Okay, what's your name? Andres? Andres, how much were you willing to pay? You're willing to pay $799 for the iPhone 6? Wow. Okay, so Andres is willing to pay $799 for a new iPhone 6. But if you went down to the store and bought one right now, you could get one for $199, right? So he goes down to the store. He's willing to pay $799. He walks in. They say $199 for a new iPhone 6. What are you going to feel like? You going to feel happy? Like you got to steal. That's exactly right. That concept of consumer surplus, it's all about I got to steal. It's all about, yes, I got this incredible deal. We've all had the experience. You go into the store and you try on a piece of clothing, right? And you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, right? You're like, I like this, I like this, I like this. And oh God, I hope it's less than $40. And then you go and you look at the price tag and the price tag says $30. You're like, yes, that's consumer surplus. Consumer surplus compares what we're willing to pay and what we actually pay. The difference between what we are willing to pay and what we actually pay is called consumer surplus. For Andras, it's $600 on the iPhone. For somebody who found that really, oh my God, this makes me look hot. I'm wearing this on Thursday night top. It's $10 because you were willing to pay $40 and you're only paying $30. It's the difference between those two things. The dollar difference between what you're willing to pay and what you actually pay is called consumer surplus. We use CS as shorthand for consumer surplus. This is another use of the word surplus. 25 minutes ago, I talked about market surplus and consumer surplus. Totally, completely different. Completely different. No relationship other than the fact the word is spelled and pronounced the same way. All right? So this surplus and the surplus we had earlier today, totally different. Earlier today was called market surplus. This one's called consumer surplus. And in 2 minutes, we're going to have producer surplus. Same word, different meanings. Now, oh gosh, when you buy this phone for $199, where'd you go? When you get this phone for $199, do they, like, is somebody giving you that $600? Is it like, all of a sudden I'm going to also hand you $600? Or is it just sort of like, woo! It's a woohoo. That's right. It's a woohoo. So let's see. Clicker question. Which of these statements is true? Consumer surplus is money the seller gives the buyer. It's the same as market surplus. It's a normative concept. It's all in your head. Or E, none of the above. A, B, C, D, or E. Tell me about consumer surplus. 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. It's not money. It's not the same as market surplus. Oh, good, only 1% said that. It's not normative. It's a positive economic concept. Straight off, this is what it's defined as. This is how we use it. It's all in your head. Right? Because it's that woohoo. That woohoo is all in your head. Consumer surplus is all in your head. There's no money that changes hands. It's all in your head. It's that feeling of I got to steal. I got a deal. But even though it's all in your head, we can show it on a graph because we're economists. All right, let's draw a graph. This time when you draw your supply and demand graph, please make sure your demand curve touches the vertical axis. So price on the vertical, quantity on the horizontal. Draw yourself a downward sloping demand curve. Please make sure it touches that vertical axis. Draw yourself an upward sloping supply curve. Find the equilibrium. Dash it over. Call it P star. And you can dash it down. Call it Q star. That's our equilibrium. Consumer surplus. Let's suppose that we could blow this thing up and look at individuals who are somehow contained in this demand curve. Let me put some numbers on this just to make it like less intangible. Suppose that equilibrium price is $60. And suppose this price up here is $100. And that tells me that right next to that, there's somebody, I don't know who, George. There's somebody named George who was willing to pay $99 for this good, only had paid $60. And so George got some consumer surplus that's equal to that distance between what he was willing and able to pay, 99, and what he actually paid $60 or $39 worth of consumer surplus. And then there's the next person. What are we going to call the next person? No, call, whoops, that's, I want a different color. Colors. Maria. Maria's willing to pay $98 for this good, only cost $60. So Maria's getting that distance, 98 to 60, or $38 worth of consumer surplus. And we could go ahead and we could do this for every person who's reflected in this demand curve. And if I did it with prices close enough together, my total consumer surplus, oh my gosh, what would it be? The total consumer surplus for the market would be all of those individual consumer surpluses added up together. It would simply be the area of that triangle above the price, below the demand curve for the people who are actually buying the product. So between the axis and the equilibrium point, the area of that triangle, 1/2 base times height. Some teacher was very happy that you already knew that. The area of that triangle is a dollar value of consumer surplus for this market. Now we can talk, instead of consumer surplus, we can talk about, find a clicker, we can talk about producer surplus. Producer surplus is going to compare the amount that the minimum amount the seller was willing to accept with the price they actually are willing to sell it for. So you think back to that football ticket example. We have some people who were willing to sell the ticket for $20, but if it actually sold for $50, they got $30 worth of producer surplus. They got $30 more than they had expected. Usually the sellers in that case say they made a killing. That difference between the minimum price they're willing to accept and the price the sellers actually receive is called the producer surplus. PS for producer surplus. So if we go back to that picture we just had, the producer surplus is going to be the area below the price and above the supply curve. That's going to tell us the total for the market producer surplus. So that area, that area, the area of that triangle would be the producer surplus. It would tell us the total surplus that's received by producers. Economists like markets because they're really enamored of this sort of psychic woohoo thing. And we know that, positive economic analysis statement, we know that letting the price mechanism determine what is produced and for whom it's produced maximizes the sum of consumer and producer surplus. That the total surplus, the CS plus the PS, the yellow and green thing added together, is maximized if we let the price mechanism determine for whom things are produced and what is produced. And anytime we move away from that, then we have a smaller amount of surplus. That picture I'll show you not right now because I need to do something else right now. All right, what's an example of a time when we move away from that maximum surplus? Well, let's look at, how much time do I have? Oh, sure, let's ask a quicker question. Suppose that the state, let's look at the tax. Suppose the state added $2 per gallon gas tax. So instead of whatever it is right now, $3.85 a gallon, there's another $2 tax on top of that. What would happen to the price you pay at the pump? A, it would stay the same. B, it would rise by $2. C, it would rise by less than $2. D, it would rise by more than $2. Or E, the price would fall. So right now, last time I looked, it was $3.85. So the question is, where does the price go? What's the new equilibrium price? Is it $5.85, $3.85, more than $5.85, less than, anyway, you see what the answers are. 3 seconds. 1, 2, and 3. All right. So that's the answer. C is the answer. The price rises by less than $2. Let me show you how it works real fast. When we look at the effect of a tax increase, whether we show it as affecting the supply curve or the demand curve depends upon who is giving the tax money directly to the government. In most of the cases that we experience, it's the seller who remits, that is, mails the tax money to the government. When I go to the grocery store and I buy things that are taxed, I don't send the money off to the state of California. Safeway does that for me, right? So most of the things that you and I buy are characterized this way. The tax is remitted by the seller, and so we show the effect of the tax as shifting the supply curve. So let's look at it. Price on the vertical, quantity on the horizontal, downward sloping demand curve, upward sloping supply curve S1. Find your equilibrium price, label it P1, and the quantity you can label. It's not important to the story I'm going to tell right now. Suppose there is what's called an excise tax. An excise tax is a well, the way we're going to look at this as a constant dollar amount, so $2 per gallon, for instance. So the tax increases the cost of selling the good to the seller by the amount of the tax. And so we're going to take our supply curve, and I know I said not to do it, but do it for this. We're going to take our supply curve and we're going to shift it up by exactly the amount of the tax, so that this vertical distance between your first and second supply curve is equal to the size of the tax. We'll call T for tax because I'm running out of space. What happens to the price? The price increases to where your supply curve S2 crosses your demand curve T, dash it over, price P2. Did the price go up by the full amount of the tax? Yes or no? No, because the demand curve slopes down. If you had a perfectly vertical demand curve, if your demand curve had been perfectly vertical, then the price would have gone up by the full amount of the tax. But because as the price starts to rise, some people say, forget it, I'm not going to buy gas, I'm going to bike to work. Because some people say, I'm not willing to pay that higher price, that is to say the demand curve slopes down. That limits the ability of sellers to pass on the entirety of the tax to their buyers. And so the price will go up to P2. If you dash directly down from your new equilibrium, that distance you had between your two supply curves was the tax. Go down from your new equilibrium until you hit the first supply curve, dash that over. That's the price P2 minus the tax. So for instance, if it was $3.85 plus a $2 tax, if it made the price go up by $1.15, the first price would have been $3.85, the second price would have been $5, that's how much we paid at the pump. But because the seller's mailing that $2 off to the government, the amount they're keeping is just $3. Both parties bear the burden. See you later, sorry, 1 minute, over. It's Wednesday, have a good weekend, go Bears.